Bitcoin possesses all the attributes not only of good money, but of supremely good money.
Replacing fiat currency with fiat digital currency is not an improvement.
If you want a market-based system of money that doesn't get shut down when it grows past the size of a novelty, it has to be decentralized.
Bitcoin is, it's divisible, it's portable, it's all these things. But apart from the fact that it can be utilized in transaction, it's nothing.
Nothing has intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is a meaningless term because value has to be subjective in the eyes of the valuer.
The bottom's gonna drop out of the market like all bubbles, and everyone's gonna wanna sell. There's gonna be no demand, there's gonna be massive supply. The whole thing is gonna implode.
Welcome now to the main event. Arguing for the affirmative on the resolution, we have Shapeshift CEO Eric Voorhees. Eric, please come to the stage. All right. Arguing for the negative, we have Euro Pacific Capital CEO Peter Schiff. Peter, please come to the stage. A very raucous crowd. Peter, please sit up there. I don't want you guys near each other. This is a raucous crowd. And I have to sit between you. And as you know, the resolution... Yes, yeah. Pass the gentleman. Oh, that's very nice. Okay. You guys get in. Okay. Please, the resolution, as you know, is Bitcoin or a similar form of cryptocurrency will eventually replace government's fiat money as the preferred medium of exchange. Eric Voorhees, please take the podium and defend that resolution. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Voorhees. I'm the founder and CEO of Shapeshift, which is a leading digital asset exchange. It's available nearly everywhere in the world other than here in New York, because New York is quietly suffocating under a depressing pall of statism. The question of who's more socialist, New York or China, would perhaps be a good topic for a Soho debate. I'd like to thank Gene Epstein and the Forum for hosting the debate. I would also like to thank Peter for agreeing to spar with me here this evening. Peter is someone that I've looked up to for a very long time. Back in 2008, prior to Bitcoin, I listened to Peter's podcasts every day while driving to work. Much of what I've learned about money and economics came from him. So Peter, thank you for all that you have taught me over the years. And thank you especially for agreeing to take the position of defending fiat currency tonight, for Lord knows that I never would. Tonight I make the case that Bitcoin or a similar form of cryptocurrency will eventually replace government fiat as a preferred means of exchange. I'll use the term Bitcoin loosely here to refer to any such cryptocurrency that accomplishes that goal. I'm going to construct the argument in 4 pieces. First, why Bitcoin is good money. Second, why fiat is bad money. Third, why gold or other forms of market-based money are insufficient. Fourth, why Bitcoin will win. So first, why is Bitcoin good money? As we all know, mankind has used many different things as money. Monies come and go, and the adoption of one monetary standard over another is the rule rather than the exception throughout history. But a society's choice of money is not arbitrary. There are certain attributes of money which seem preferable to others. Gold scores highly on these attributes, which is why it has remained an indelible monetary standard for millennia. To assess Bitcoin's likelihood of assuming the monetary throne for the next period of human history, one must first understand its attributes. First, I'll point out that Bitcoin possesses all the attributes not only of good money, but of supremely good money. It is not marginally better than alternatives, rather it is in its own league entirely. First, Bitcoin is provably scarce. There are only 21 million of them, and there can never be more. I can tell you exactly how many there will be tomorrow. The answer is 17,130,620. I can tell you the supply a year from now and 10 years from now. Let's see any central bank attempt such a feat. And yet, while scarce, Bitcoin is easily divisible. One Bitcoin can be cut into 100 million pieces and recombined at will. In terms of divisibility, Bitcoin wins hands down over both fiat and gold. Bitcoin is also durable. A Bitcoin exists as a ledger entry, backed up on thousands of computers around the world. Certainly, if the internet went down, you'd be unable to use Bitcoin, but that is also true of your credit cards, PayPal, banks, and any other form of modern money. So Bitcoin is at no disadvantage to fiat in this regard. Bitcoin is fungible. Each Bitcoin is worth the same as every other. It is recognizable. Every Bitcoin wallet can quickly attest whether a Bitcoin is legitimate or not. A Bitcoin cannot be counterfeited. Unlike with gold, it cannot be filled with tungsten. And as one of its greatest attributes, Bitcoin is highly portable. You can send it anywhere on Earth for very little cost. It moves across borders with ease. It has no concept of borders. It has no weight. It has no smell. It has no physical body. that can be blocked or apprehended. Indeed, it is the only form of money today which can be moved at distance without trusting a third party. It is the only money that doesn't require permission from an overseer. Therefore, it is the only money appropriate for free people. Finally, Bitcoin also possesses an important attribute which will one day be seen as critical for good money: programmability. Bitcoin can be programmed to enable all kinds of economic activity, often without a middleman, escrow agent, or human arbitration of any kind. This programmability, without having to trust anyone, is impossible with fiat, and in a digital age will come to be one of its most important advantages. Next, let's discuss why fiat is bad money. Why should we care about cryptocurrencies and their attributes when we already have fiat? Fiat works pretty well, right? It's got pyramids and government buildings printed on it, so you know it's valuable. Also, it is backed by paper. Paper can be burned if you're cold in the winter. There's its intrinsic value. Try that with gold. But a skeptical observer should know that fiat money is an absolute scam, and something altogether inappropriate for an ethical, market-based society. As I like to say, you cannot have a free market when the most important good, money itself, is centrally planned and controlled. Fiat money and a market economy are mutually exclusive concepts. Like oil and water, they can certainly be mixed up together when force is applied, but they will naturally separate and dispel one another over time. Indeed, the average lifespan of fiat is less than 50 years. The US dollar only became fiat in 1971. That's less than the length of William Shatner's career. And as it happens, last week he announced that he has started to mine Bitcoins as well. Regardless, when examining its specific properties as money, most ways fiat is unimpressive. First, it is not scarce. It is systematically created out of thin air, with no limit on supply, nor can supply even be known. Fiat is willed into existence by politicians and banks because printing money enriches the printer at the expense of the public who holds the previously printed money. The phenomenon is known as inflation or currency debasement. Fiat also struggles with durability. Your fiat will only last so long as your bank permits, and even then it slowly loses its value. Your bank can destroy your fiat with the click of a button. Ask a Cypriot. Ask an Argentinian how durable fiat is. With fiat, you are ever dependent on a third party with your wealth. Is that an attribute of money that you find attractive? Some people are comfortable with it because they trust their government, but requiring trust in politicians seems a poor foundation upon which to build a prosperous society. Finally, fiat is not nearly as portable as Bitcoin. Try to send an international wire right now. You can't because it's after 5 o'clock. How quaint is that? You can try tomorrow morning as long as it's not Sunday, because apparently God doesn't want you to use the financial system on the Sabbath. But even when successful, you'll discover it takes 3 to 5 days for your wire to arrive. You often have to physically go to the bank to do this. You have to fill out a form on paper while someone making $15 an hour takes that info and types it back into a computer. Why do people put up with this nonsense? Indeed, it is faster to strap cash to an anvil and FedEx it to Tokyo than it is to send an international wire. Do you really think that that system is going to outcompete Bitcoin in an open marketplace? And you can only send fiat if you have permission. Try to send it to a family member in Russia. You'll be censored. Want to donate to a relief effort, perhaps, in Venezuela? Too bad, you'll be censored. Are you sending a suspicious amount? Your payment will be blocked, and you better get ready for questioning or outright confiscation. Yep, the Orwellian nanny state is alive and well, and fiat currency is one of its most insidious tentacles. Fiat has these poor monetary attributes because it is a tool and appendage of the state. It exists to serve the state, not to exist market participants. Its attributes as money are intentionally constrained and inferior so as to siphon wealth to the state through debasement and to surveil and control the behavior of the king's subjects. Remember that fiat means value by decree, not by merit. So why are gold and other alternatives insufficient? I love gold. I own gold, and I would like to own more gold. I understand why gold is good money, and Peter has done a great job of teaching such concepts to the public. But gold as a physical, heavy commodity cannot be efficiently used as money at scale. Imagine trying to run payroll with physical gold coins. Try to make change for a pizza with bullion. And forget about payment at strip clubs. Bruising women is not cool. Unless you're the New York Attorney General Snyderman. Suffice to say that gold, when in physical form, is impractical for commerce. For gold to work in a modern economy, it must be warehoused by a company, and then digital certificates or credits must be issued against that gold. Those digital certificates could theoretically work well as money in a modern economy, except for one problem: centralization. A digital gold payment service or any privately issued market-based money requires some form of centralized control or custody, and thus exposes users to counterparty risk. This is fatal, because if such a private company ever grows to scale, a government could shut it down, unplug its servers, arrest its principals, and seize its assets. This exact thing happened with eGold, and another company, Gold Money, was so scared of this happening that they stopped allowing payments of digital gold between customers entirely. Private money, when centralized, probably cannot attain scale and thus cannot surpass fiat because a government won't allow it. So why will Bitcoin win? Bitcoin will win because there is now competition in money, and Bitcoin is the best money currently available. Because it's decentralized, it cannot be stopped. It doesn't happen all at once. Nobody switches immediately from fiat and banks to Bitcoin and blockchains. Rather, Bitcoin will simply, gradually, come to be used as an occasional alternative to fiat. Individuals will find specific times and places in which it is easier, faster, safer, or cheaper to use Bitcoin to store or transfer wealth than to use credit cards or banks. Indeed, 2 billion people in the world don't even have credit cards or banks. For them, the choice will be easy. Yet despite the failings of the legacy system, Bitcoin now imbues every human on Earth with financial sovereignty. With Bitcoin, anyone of any age, race, or creed, no matter which imaginary lines they were born within, and nothing more than a $50 smartphone, can send and receive money anywhere in the world instantly at near zero cost, and there isn't a goddamn thing that anyone else in the world can do to stop that. It is one of the most potent tools of individual empowerment ever invented, and it is happening right in front of us. Fiat now persists solely on the momentum of tradition. The older generations may cling to it for quite some time, but they and their ways are dying, and their wealth decays in front of them, debased openly by the very people they worship, salute, and vote into office. Someday, school children will laugh and joke with each other as they learn about the silly flag paper with cultish incantations inscribed on it, which, in yet another of history's examples of mass delusion, people thought to be valuable. Or maybe they won't laugh and joke because they will have learned how much destruction it actually caused. Maybe fiat will be looked at more like medieval bloodlettering, a dark symptom of human ignorance that is so obviously foolish in hindsight. Fiat will fall in time, and in its place, true decentralized market-based money will emerge. The profit motive alone will lead capital gradually away from those assets which can be debased and censored to those which cannot. To future generations, it will appear as inevitable as the collapse of serfdom, and for the very same reason. This is why Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency will eventually replace government fiat.
Peter Schiff, take the podium. Peter, arguing for the negative. Take it away, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Gene, for inviting me here. Soho Forum, Reason. I worked with Reason on the Occupy Wall Street video that I did. And Eric, thanks for dressing nicer than Max Kaiser, who was the last Bitcoin debate that I did. And I wish you could have persuaded me to buy Bitcoin a few years ago. But don't confuse the fact that financially Bitcoin has been a success for a lot of people who happen to get into it early with whether or not it's ultimately going to succeed at replacing the dollar or any other fiat currency as money. And I'm not here to defend the fiat-based monetary system that exists today. I agree with Eric, it is going to fail, and I believe a currency crisis is headed for us. I just don't believe that the future is Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is going to succeed where the dollar or other fiat currencies fail. And to understand money, you have to understand its origins and what it's attempting to do. I mean, before the dollar was a fiat currency, it was a legitimate currency. And what is a legitimate currency? It's a currency that's actually backed by real money. In the case of the dollar, that real money was gold. Gold backed the dollar. And what gave the dollar value was the gold that backed it up. So nobody wanted dollars. Dollars were just a more convenient way of transacting in gold. And before governments began issuing currency, private banks issued currency backed by gold. Again, the private currency simply facilitated gold transactions. Like, I guess at the strip club, it's easier to put a bill in a stripper than a gold coin, right? So it made it easier. But the stripper is still earning the gold. That's what they wanted. And then before they had paper money, they just had gold coins, right? Gold was, you just had gold coins. And, coins were an improvement over just nuggets, right? Gold bullion. Why were coins better? Because if the coin was made from a mint that you recognized, you knew exactly how much gold was in that coin. And why is that important? Well, because gold is a commodity, right? And if you are exchanging goods or services for gold, you want to know how much gold you're getting. Because that's, it's the weight of gold that's important. How much gold am I getting for whatever it is that I am selling, right? And before they had gold, we had barter, right? Everybody just had to trade one product for another product. Gold, money, the invention of money, right, made commerce much more efficient. And of course, gold was not the only money. It wasn't the first money, but it was the best money. And Eric did an excellent job of going over a lot of the characteristics that gold had that made it more efficient as money, other than, let's say, cattle or wheat or oil. Those are commodities, but they don't work as well as money. Gold worked beautifully as money, which is why more and more societies adopted it as money. And what Bitcoin did very successfully is it managed to replicate a lot of those properties that gold had that made it so successful as money. In fact, they created Bitcoin to resemble gold, right? If you look at a picture of Bitcoin, not that it actually exists, but the way they try to present it on a piece of paper, it's always the color of gold. It looks like a gold coin with a B in the middle of it. How do you create Bitcoins? Well, you mine them. I mean, there's no picks, there's no real mining, but they just called it mining because they wanted to make it sound like you were creating digital gold, right? But the reason that I have referred to it as being fool's gold is because Bitcoin is replicating all of the properties of gold except the most important one, and that's the metal itself, the element, the rare, scarce element that has been valued as a commodity for thousands of years. The reason people wanted gold as money is because it was a luxury good that people wanted. If you didn't want it yourself, somebody else wanted it. You can do all sorts of things with gold other than spend it, right? It's the actual uses, the physical properties. And it's not just the fact that gold is in jewelry, right? That's the most important use, but gold is in all the cell phones that we have. They use it in aerospace, they use it in medicine. I mean, and there's a lot of places that gold would be used, but they don't use it because they use other metals instead that are less expensive. But if they could afford gold, they would use it because gold would do a better job, right? The best teeth, if you want to get a crown, there's gold in it. If you want to save money, then you use something else. But if you want the best, you're going to have gold in there. And so there's real value there. On the other hand, Bitcoin is, yeah, it's divisible, it's portable, it's all these things. But apart from the fact that it can be utilized in transaction, it's nothing. It has no real value into itself as a commodity. There's no way to relate the price of Bitcoin to the price of anything else. I mean, you have thousands of years of history to know how much gold should be worth in terms of oil or wheat or any other commodity or whatever you're doing. But Bitcoin, there's no reference point. It's only existed for 9 years. It never had any value other than as a medium of exchange. There is this supposed 21 million unit scarcity, which is a self-imposed scarcity. The only reason it's scarce is because they created it to be scarce, except it's not scarce because Bitcoin can be forked off as many times as you want. There's Bitcoin Cash, there's Bitcoin Gold, whatever. Meanwhile, there's another 1,500 or so cryptocurrencies that can do everything Bitcoin can do. Some of them can do it better, faster, cheaper. There's no limit to the number of other digital currencies that can be created. There's only one gold. There'll never be another gold. Yeah, there are other metals on the periodic table, but they're not gold. They're not exactly the same as gold. But you can make as many cryptocurrencies that are exactly the same as Bitcoin. They just have a different name, but they have the exact same properties, although they may have better properties. They may be cheaper or faster. But the biggest problem with Bitcoin and why it can never be used as money is because one of the most important functions of money is that it has to be a reliable store of value, not just a medium of exchange. Bitcoin can do that, although it's inefficient, and I think at its peak when Bitcoin prices got up to 20,000, it was something like, $50, $60 just to spend one. So obviously, you couldn't use it to buy a cup of coffee if, it costs $60 to buy the $5 coffee. So it isn't that easy to use, but, maybe if you're trying to buy a car, big payment. But the problem with it is there is no certainty as to its future value, right? You have no idea what Bitcoin is going to be worth from hour to hour, let alone day to day or year to year. In order for something to be money, you need to be able to price products in it. You need to be able to negotiate contracts in it. I need to be able to borrow and lend in it, right? I need to be able to buy insurance in it. None of these things can ever be done with Bitcoin because nobody knows what, if anything, it's going to be worth in the future. Even Eric doesn't know. Eric, it could be worth $1 million or it could be worth nothing. That can't be money. You can't have a currency that has no reliable store of value. Now, you could say, well, same thing with fiat currency. Yeah, fiat currencies have lost value over time, slowly, and eventually they may collapse. But most people who transact in dollars or euros or yen have complete confidence in their value. They may acknowledge that they will lose value slowly, but they accept that. And you have all of the history of use, you have the socially accepted, I mean, you have prices, everything is denominated in these local currencies. And even if they're losing value slowly, they're losing value slow enough that the market can still transact in it. But there is no way to transact in Bitcoin. And if you don't like fiat currency, and you want to use something else, it is very easy to use gold. I mean, as Eric said, you can have a company like Gold Money, for example, that has been, reinvented now more recently, now that Turk sold to BitGold and they changed the name to Gold Money. But you can have gold on deposit, and you can spend your gold. You can transfer it very inexpensively to anybody who wants to accept it. You could break it down into grams, and you can buy a cup of coffee with it for less money than it would cost you to buy a cup of coffee using your Bitcoin. Sure, Eric says, well, you have to trust a third party. Well, people have been trusting third parties with gold ever since gold's been money. I mean, it worked fine in 19th century America when people trusted third parties with their gold. I mean, Brinks is the third party that holds your gold at Gold Money. They've never lost an ounce of gold since they've been storing it in their entire 100-some-odd-year history. Now, could the government come in and maybe confiscate their money? Well, they haven't done it before. I mean, in theory, any government can confiscate anything, but, they have gold stored all around the world. I mean, is every single government, is Switzerland, is Hong Kong, is Dubai, is Australia, are all these governments going to start seizing gold from every depository? But the idea to think that governments can't ban Bitcoin if they don't want to, you don't think governments can criminalize the use of Bitcoin? You don't think they can tell the banks that they regulate, you can't do business with anybody who's using Bitcoin? You can't exchange Bitcoin for any fiat currencies? They could put you in jail. They can make the penalty 10 years, 20 years in jail for getting caught with a Bitcoin. I mean, it's very easy for the government to criminalize it if they want to do it. I mean, I think they have more of a chance of criminalizing that than they would of owning gold. So I think in the end, I agree with Eric completely that the fiat monetary system that we have now is not going to work. But replacing fiat currency with fiat digital currency is not an improvement. Right? It is still a fiat. What gives Bitcoin value? The only thing that gives it value is confidence. It's confidence that other people will accept it in the future. That's the same thing that gives the dollar value or that gives the euro or the yen, except with the dollar, you've got legal tender, you've got a whole banking system and a society that's built around it, and the government requires every American citizen to pay their taxes every year, and you have to pay it in dollars. So if you don't want to go to jail, you have to have dollars to pay your taxes. Nobody has to have Bitcoins for anything. Right now, people want Bitcoins because they think they're going to get rich. Why do they think they're going to get rich? Because they think the price is going to go up, because they believe that one day it's going to be money. It's not money now. It's not being used as money now. It's being used as a speculative asset. But the speculation is that that's going to change in the future and that one day it'll be money. But that is a promise on which Bitcoin nor any other cryptocurrency is ever capable of delivering. So ultimately, if you want to go to the future, you got to go to the past. The future of money is gold. And if gold is going to be digitized, if we're going to have a gold-backed cryptocurrency backed by real money, just like the initial banknotes used to be backed by real money, then that can succeed. And that is the only type of cryptocurrency that can succeed. But all of the cryptocurrencies that exist today, whatever 1,500 of them that are backed by nothing, are no better than the national cryptocurrencies that they're hoping to replace. Thank you.